The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za. And by BlackBerry. Love doing business on your BlackBerry smartphone at blackberry.co.za.
Good evening and welcome to episode 186 of the ZA Tech Show. I am Sam Beckbessinger and I'm going to be your host again this evening, which hopefully means I didn't screw up too badly the last time. And if I did, please don't tell Simon and Brett. If you're joining us live, and you should because it's definitely more fun live, it is Monday the 21st of November. And if I'm correct, I think that means there are only 5 Mondays left of this year. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yes. So... Wait, your mic is off.
No, don't turn me on.
No,
Turn my microphone on. Stop rubbing it, Sam.
Sorry, no, good grief, no, microphone off. Sorry, microphone off.
And then the new year just starts.
No, microphone is off. You are not talking. I love the power. It's amazing. Anyway, so episode 186, and in studio this evening, as you've heard, let's start with our lovely Nicholas Calligari, who makes stuffs for DSTV Online. Correct, Nick?
Yes, I make stuff sparkle so we can sell more.
Awesome. Sparkly. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How are you on this Monday?
Yeah, pretty good, hey? Not bad.
Awesome.
Not bad. Wet, but not bad.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
After all this talk of turning you on, I'm just going to move on from that. And in the other corner is joining us from the Lollipop Lounge, popular stripper Benedict Kennedy, also from the Mail and Guardian.
Well, with the press we've been getting at the Mail and Guardian recently, I may have to look for another job if I don't want to get arrested.
Ooh, and moving swiftly forward.
I see you're already wearing black in anticipation for tomorrow.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, for our non-South African listeners, Ben's paper has had a very interesting weekend, but probably outside the scope of what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah.
So, Ben, apart from working at the Lollipop Lounge, how is life?
Life is good. We're counting down the days till we actually get allowed to go on leave.
Yeah, it's counting the Mondays. That's the big thing. Alrighty, so off with technology news of the week. I feel like it's been a pretty quiet week, right? Or did I miss some massive death or merger? Did someone buy Twitter? Nothing?
No, nobody bought Twitter.
Should we just make up the news this week?
Right.
It'll be more interesting. So go, made up news. Shoot.
DSTV is buying NBC.
I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, we wish.
No,
okay.
we're not.
All right, so before we cause mayhem, real tech news this week. Let's start off talking about Telkom because there have been 2 quite interesting stories about them this week. Ben?
Well, I hope I know what both those stories are.
Well, let's talk about the finances.
Let's talk about the financial results first, because they came out with their financial results, and as expected, they were pretty horrific. Sent the investors, the shareholders, running for the hills, screaming.
They
share
also
price went down about 2% on the day, which, I think. I never quite understand it. I mean, if you were a shareholder and you didn't know this was going to happen, then you're really not that bright.
It's quite strange to me. I mean, didn't they cancel the presentation?
Yes.
I mean, because no one was going to figure it out.
I don't think they cancelled it. I think they just didn't schedule one at all.
Yeah, they didn't schedule an interim. This is interim results. It's not full year earnings. So they don't actually have to give a presentation. They just always have in the past, and so they didn't. But basically, the results are bad, mostly on the basis of them pumping huge amounts of money into ATA. Because what they've done is they've split out. There's like the official results, and then there's the real results. So there's a line item for discontinued operations, which is what they're calling then Multilinks operation in Nigeria, and if they'd included that in the results, it would have been even worse.
So, I mean, wasn't there also quite a significant decline in the voice revenue, which, I mean, just makes perfect sense,
they're
right?
seeing data revenues down, they're seeing voice revenues down. I think the only things I really saw that went up were like the bundled, like their sort of consumer bundles, and their ADSL subscribers were up. But all in all, they're seeing a lot of the fruits of them not necessarily being the most competitive operator in the market, plus a huge amount of competition from MTN, Vodacom, Neotel, and anybody else who feels like throwing some fiber into the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, from a sort of mobile data perspective, where you'd think, I mean, from a number of users perspective, must be growing.
Yeah. They've got about 1 million people on ATA now, 1 million customers, which is not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is to be expected. I mean, they're starting up a mobile network in South Africa from scratch. This is not a market where there's, like it was in 1994, where it was like, ooh, what's this big square box thing that we can talk on anywhere? You know, this is a market where we have iPhones, where we have Blackberries, where you're competing against Vodacom and MTN and Cell C. There's 3 good, strong incumbent players. You're going to have to fight your ass off just to get into that market. Now, the simple fact is that Telkom knew that they were going to have to do this, and every shareholder knows that they're going to have to do this. I mean, the fact is that they're still turning a profit. It's not like they're losing money. They're just not making as much of it as they were when they were raping and pillaging in the past.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, this is to be expected. I mean, what the thing is that there's the worst thing that could happen to Telkom at the moment is that the Korea telecoms who apparently want to buy 20% of Telkom get scared off. And
which would be quite short-sighted, because
yes,
I mean, as you're saying, there's no massive red flags about this announcement, really.
I mean, it was all to be very expected. And I mean, the fact is, I mean, I read an article today where they were saying, where it was made clear that the reason why Telkom are really keen to get Korea Telecoms on board. It's because Korea Telecoms have been through this before. They had to go through this whole process in their own home market 10 years ago. So they know exactly what
15.
to do. Okay.
It's 15 years
15 years
yeah,
ago.
15.
Oh, it's
Okay.
depressing.
Okay. But I mean, if you want a partner on board who actually understands how to turn your company around and make it competitive and make it a cutting-edge, world-class company, then you can't. I mean, Korea Telecoms are not a big international player. I mean, they've got about 4 other operations somewhere else in the world, and they're in places like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. And
So they'll understand our market perfectly.
They're not really, they're not a big African player. They're not even big in Europe. But then you say, when you hear that thing that they're saying, they want those skills, they want the understanding, people who understand how to turn around this kind of company, then that's the partner that you want.
Sure.
They're also going to bring $600 million into the country.
Which is always nice.
Jacques Schindler, how do you pronounce his surname anyway?
I don't know.
The new CFO of
listening.
Telkom, he was just on the radio now as I was driving in, and he was saying that they're going to fight very, very hard to try and woo KT Corp as much as possible. What he also said, which I found quite interesting, was that he admitted that Telkom was quite negligent when it came to addressing consumer needs. And they fell into the trap of following the easy cash, which is always in the corporate space. And I mean, something like 70% of South African corporates use Telkom for they have no option. But and Jacques actually said that this was going to be a focus for them going forward, was to look at sort of wooing the consumer back. Because I mean, you mentioned fixed line revenues and voice revenues. They were down, but not substantially if you compare to international markets. I think the voice revenue locally was only down about 3%, which if you look at the broader scheme of things, is not that bad. So it's going to be an interesting journey for Telkom to see what they do, and especially as a consumer with a Telkom line, seeing what they've
talking about being a consumer with a Telkom line, and I think, Nick, I suspect that you'll be slightly more excited about this part of the news as I am, which is about the possibility or the announcement that Telkom is going to be drastically looking at increasing their speeds, and they have a plan for this. So
something else that he said was that they're going to be pouring something like 12 billion rand into the local infrastructure in capital expenditure, which is going to be really cool. And then there was that report that came out this week as well, saying that by 2015 they want to have ADSL speeds of up to 40 megabits per second, with a minimum at the entry level being 2 megabits per second. It's a nice start.
Them's a lot of lolcats.
But in 2015 we're going to be where the rest of the world has been for the last 5 years.
And the rest of the world will, be teleporting all over the place and
the
riding
point is
hover
that
carts.
I think 40 megabits a second, if they can do it in a sustained way, where you actually are delivering those speeds across the network, actually will be enough to do what we need to do with it, to get the video on demand, to get the services. You don't need 100 meg. It's nice to have 100 megabits per second. Hell, I want a gigabit, but the point is that you don't actually need that speed. You can probably deliver most video on demand or live TV, streaming TV services across a nice, clean 40 megabit link. But the point is they have to be able to make sure they deliver a nice, clean link. If they can't deliver those nice, clean links, then there's no point in saying, we've got 40 megabits because that's like a cell phone network saying we got 21 megabits, but all you ever get is 3.
Yeah, and that's something that I've found with fixed line, and it's why I always prefer my fixed line network to the mobile network from a speed perspective. Is that it's fairly consistent. If they say you're going to get 512k, it's going to be pretty darn close to that. Where with mobile, with HSPA Plus and even LTE, that's everybody's piloting around the country. It's always theoretical speeds. You never get the full. I mean, people ask the question: should I go for the 7 megabits? Should I go for the 7 megabit per second dongle, or should I go for the 21 megabit per second dongle?
Dreams,
and the reality is, you're probably never going to push more than 7 anyway. So look, I mean, you're future proofing it. Maybe at some stage in the future, you're going to be able to go faster. But that's the one thing I've liked about fixed line. And I call me old fashioned, call me a dinosaur, but
you're old fashioned.
You're a dinosaur.
Thank you. but I prefer copper.
Okay,
plain and simple.
Wow, that is no comment. So I mean, I think the interesting point that you raise is that talking about line speeds and talking about data by itself, as we've said before, is kind of uninteresting unless you talk about things that you can do with that data, which I think is a nice segue into talking about Google Music. Yes. Exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Do we think that? Yeah, I try. I've been planning that for like the last 10 minutes.
She can come back, Simon.
Okay. So Google Music, is it a likely competitor to iTunes? Ever likely to be?
It probably is. But like we've seen with previous iterations of any Google product, it's either hit or miss. They never sort of find a happy medium in the middle and sort of lean to either side. So the real kicker for Google will be if they can open it up in markets where iTunes isn't. South Africa being one, although we're probably not on the roadmap for that. But that's more got to do with content licensing than anything else. It's the old guys in grey suits that sit in their CEO offices going, we want more money from that market.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to sort of detract from the conversation here, but I mean, there was an article today about how one agency which represents about 200 different labels pulled its labels off Spotify after a report that basically said, what, streaming music isn't really where the money is, which we kind of knew. So I think basically this is playing very strongly into the arms of people like Nokia and Apple and Google, who are going to be selling, and Amazon, who are selling music because that's where the money is. And I think the record labels aren't really keen on streaming offerings, and I think in the long run you're going to see the network, the guys who are selling music per track continue to be the strongest, dominating the things, because effectively you can't do it without. It's not one of these things you can just like sort of wingle your way around, It's a new word, wingle.
Wingle.
It's a technical term.
Yeah, it's a technical term.
Wingle. I think
that's the name of this episode. Wingle.
Wingling.
Wingling. But you have to sign deals with all these record labels and all the people who represent them. And if somebody decides that you're not the bee's knees, or you're not in the best interests of their artists or their own checkbook, then you're kind of screwed.
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's very, very early in this kind of discussion, at least from a streaming perspective. I mean, you saw, in the early days of iTunes, this will never take off. The labels will find it too hard. And, look at us now. I think it also depends, to what degree artists can start paying for the marketing for themselves and kind of becoming their own businesses rather than trusting in the labels and removing that control, which is possibly just a pipe dream.
The thing about record labels is that they're interested in selling albums. They're not interested in selling singles, and it's something that the artists have actually found to be in their favor is selling singles, because an artist will come out with 3 or 4 really good tracks, and just to fulfill the obligations to the record label will come up with another 10 pieces of rubbish, just to pad an album so that the record labels have something to sell. It's been said ad nauseum on this podcast before, but the record labels are in trouble.
Yeah.
They are no longer relevant, and it's just a matter of time before the old guys in grey suits that I keep talking about.
Who are these people? Do you work with people? I've never met a guy like that.
Thankfully, anyway, my company is quite progressive.
Yeah, they are. So I don't know if you guys ever heard about this. It was a little while ago. Kaiser Chiefs ran this thing where they let fans produce an album for them. I don't know if I've spoken about this before on the show. I have very short-term memory.
I thought they were a soccer team, but...
No, well,
you can get a credit card from Standard Bank of Kaiser Chiefs.
They are named after the soccer team, but the English band, the Kaiser
I
Chiefs.
thought you meant...
No.
You meant the soccer
would be
team.
Cooler. Wow. I think it would probably be the best-selling record in South Africa
Holy
ever.
moly.
But in fact, we should phone the Kaiser Chiefs manager and tell them we have a money-making scheme for them. But Kaiser Chiefs, the band, what they did is they took 20 songs of their album that they'd created and not released on an album, and they put them up on a website and said, fans, you be the producer. So fans could listen, and they had to pick 10 songs out of the 20 and choose the order that they would go in, design some album art, give the track the record name, and then it would create a little web page for that version of the album, which you could buy through online. And the producer, the big fan who'd gone through the effort and made their cut, got a cut of the sale of the record, which I thought was just really cool.
It's going to be interesting, though, when these things do eventually take off and more bands decide to put their stuff online first. They're soon going to realize that cut that the record labels get is really unnecessary. Yeah, it's... Well, a lot of bands are doing it. A lot of bands are... you've got a lot of bands that are sort of launching their singles online that you can download for free, or you pay what you think it's worth. It's like the humble bundle of music almost. You pay what you think it's worth type thing. And it's proving to be very successful.
I heard a rumor that Radiohead made more from that album than they had on any other album they'd ever sold before that.
As well, yeah.
I'm not sure if it's true.
There's 2 parts to this problem. Okay, the first part is doing that works really well for Radiohead.
Yeah.
Doing that for the Ben Kelly band doesn't work at all, because
Ben Kelly, stripper, band member.
Yeah. Wow.
Is there anything you don't do, Ben?
Yes.
Ooh, like Meatloaf, that one thing you would do.
But the point is that it works really well for established bands, but it doesn't work well for music discovery.
Yeah, but there's MySpace for that.
Yeah. But the point
there's Last FM, there's Pandora.
But one of the big difficulties is that classical commercial radio is so in the pocket of the music labels. The music labels essentially dictate what music is played, when it is played, who plays it, how many times you're allowed to play it, and if I've never actually seen any proof of this, but pay the radio stations to play it.
Yeah.
So the average radio listening lowest common denominator we'll never hear about the Ben Kelly band, no matter how great we are.
And yet Justin Bieber becomes friggin' famous.
Yeah,
it's an unjust
because he had
world.
Ellen DeGeneres behind him, and
really?
that's a whole different...
Yeah. In a naughty way?
Well,
anyway.
I don't know if 2 women can... No, okay.
Well,
leave Justin Bieber alone. She's very talented and she sings very nice
He does
songs.
Have the ultimate lesbian haircut. Anyway.
But just coming back to what Ben's saying about... And I know it's probably way off the tech topic, but people don't listen to the radio for music. People listen to the radio for the personalities.
Well,
The music is just padding.
Let's talk about that, because I've always been really interested in the fact that radio still exists and is no sign of decline anywhere around the world. And you'd think it would be. You'd think everyone has iPods, everyone has the ability to download amazing podcasts like this one. I mean, really, why would they bother listening to the radio? But there are some unique things, and I think one of them is that sense of connectedness. You are all listening to John Robbie talking about X, and then you can go to work and grumble about
add things like Twitter and guys like John Robbie. Well, John Robbie doesn't tweet for himself. He's got people that tweet for him. But people
John
like
Robbie famously hates Twitter.
Gareth Cliff, for example, he interacts with people who talk to him. He is this unattainable person that you want to associate with. Now all of a sudden, you've got social media involved, and people are even more engaged in him as the radio personality rather than in him as the wonderful person that I'm sure he is.
But I think that the one, and this is my experience using an iPad, is using what's it called? TuneIn Radio. What's the damn thing called?
Yeah, it's TuneIn.
TuneIn Radio.
That's a terrible passcode.
It's to keep children out. TuneIn Radio. I mean, you can stream basically every single radio station from South Africa onto your
which is
iPad.
Fantastic, because I get Tux FM from my flat.
Yes, and I mean, I get Mix FM.
Yeah,
Mix FM is so
FM.
good.
I love Mix FM. Sorry, we're really off
the
topic.
SA radio show.
But the point is that I'm streaming it to my iPad. Okay, I don't even have the pro version where you can actually record things, but it does buffer. Okay, and that's all I'd actually need is that I'm listening to a really great song, the phone rings, I press pause, and I come back, and so there's a lot of things like that, which is there's the sense of community which you want. There's the people who love Darren Simpson, who used to love Jeremy Mansfield, who don't get invited to my braais. But that's what they want, And I turn on the radio sometimes in the morning because my daughter insists that I change it to a music station instead of 702, and there's 10 minutes of them talking, and it's like,
I don't know.
Where's the music?
I can't deal with it, I must say. Anyway, I have to pause the conversation for 5 minutes to talk about one of our favorite sponsors of the ZA Tech Show, which is the awesome Mofaya Vodacom. And some cool news from Vodacom this week. So they have recently been voted in a study by Magnet Communications. No, sorry, not that recently. It's the recently released results of a 2010 study, but I'm sure still very relevant, that named Vodacom the #1 employer in the ICT sector in SA. And probably taking a number of different things into consideration. And I know that they interviewed MBA students and normal students and people working in the industry. So quite a result with some weight. So I think that opens up an interesting conversation about we must have some students who are studying ICT related disciplines. I hope we do, one or two. And, we've been working kind of in related industries to technology. So, what do you think it's important to look for if you were a young, bright, future developing star in South Africa? What would influence that decision about where you'd want to work?
I mean, for me, I think it's got to do with, and this may sound like a punt for Vodacom, but we are doing the live read, so I'm allowed to do that.
The only time.
Yes, but I mean,
Vodacom.
you look at the things. Okay, you got a company which is by its very nature forced to innovate. Okay, so mobile companies cannot sit still. You sit still, you are dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're forced to innovate. Okay, so there's always going to be somewhere in that organization. There's going to be somebody playing with the coolest toy. Okay, you're a geek. You love technology. You want to be in the organization with the shiniest toys.
Absolutely.
Okay, and at the moment, the mobile networks are that. And that's why people want to be in those organizations. They're also the organizations which have the ability. I won't say the budget, but they have the budget to take those risks. You just look at the long stretch of stuff which Vodacom has tried, and maybe some worked better and some didn't work quite as well.
Yeah.
That's the polite way of saying it. but I mean, in very few other organizations in this country are you going to get that kind of experimentation, simply because most organizations can't afford to do it.
You can walk around pretending you're Bill Nye the Science Guy, but I think it's also a culture thing. Like, I've definitely found that I've met some of the raddest oddest individuals in, tech industries in South Africa. And if you are, a very intelligent and quite odd individual, I think, a big part of finding a place that feels like home is finding people that you can be odd and intelligent with. And places like Vodacom that are exploring that cutting edge are definitely doing that.
Just
right?
look at the companies that are doing the best financially. They're the companies that are slightly left of center and let you wear t-shirts to work and stuff like that. So it's
I mean, there's a litany of great companies which bring in the crazies.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it is the crazies, but it's also those kind of top achievers, right? So I think that probably 20 years ago, the industry you wanted to go into, like everyone wanted to work for Deloitte, I suppose. Like you wanted to be a management consultant because you got to go run around and do your own hours. I don't know. I've never wanted to be a management consultant, but I respect those who do. But I think just generally people who can, like I think the ICT industry is increasingly attractive for bright candidates.
Yeah, look, the ICT industry went through a bit of a lull. I'll be very honest. It was at one stage it was all ERP and CRM, and people just wanted to dig their hearts out with a spoon. But things are getting interesting again. And it's thanks to telecoms companies that it is. If IT were to carry on as it were in its traditional form, we'd have a lot of dead management consultants out there.
Oh, and I would be the one putting the stake in their hearts. Sorry. Okay, so let's move on to other news. So some of the other things that have come up this week, Avusa closing Zapon, surprise, surprise. Yeah. CAA finally allowing flight mode in SAA flights. Ooh.
Now,
welcome to the 21st century.
What I want to know is, are the cabin crew actually going to get that memo?
Yeah.
You're going to have some hardcore SAA tunny at the front telling you to
please
turn that off. I can't use it during takeoff.
No, I come up with the most amazing stories. I tell them that it's a medical device. I did that once. I told them it was this medical device and I had to have it on.
Do you have an app that has like your heart rate on it?
Yeah. I've got, sleep as a droid. That's kind of a medical device. Good enough. And I managed to talk my way into that. No, you can definitely.
What do androids dream of? That's what I want to know.
Probably electric sheep.
Yes. Nothing.
Nothing. I don't know. Have you asked an android? Let's ask an android. No, let's not. That's just silly.
I'm
sure that Siri, if you ask Siri would probably have an answer.
Actually, that's an experiment I'd like to try when eventually we do get the iPhone 4S, which I understand is probably
it's later this year, right?
Still this year,
Yeah, which is pretty good considering it's nearly the end of November. Good grief.
Guys, we actually went half an hour without talking about Apple once.
I'm pretty proud of us.
Aren't you guys proud of us in the chat room?
I think we should have a high five.
High five.
That was a really awkward three-way high five if you weren't watching.
It was a Bluetooth high five.
Yeah, we can call it that. I mean, it's this really funny thing about airplanes. I mean, I don't know. I suppose you want them to be sort of err on the cautious side.
No, but the ludicrous thing is that they would allow you to use your iPod Touch on the plane, but they wouldn't allow you to use your iPhone in flight mode.
It's a bit silly.
I mean, the level of quote danger,
Will Robinson
is equal. They both have radios in them. They both could theoretically interfere with.
I think that it's better to be safe than sorry, I suppose, in this situation. I mean, you're dealing with a couple of hundred people's lives in an airplane, and I suppose it's exactly the same as the age-old. Well, when I say age-old, probably a 20-year-old.
Internet age-old.
Well, internet age-old. There we go. What are you in internet years? Anyway.
Very old. Very.
The age-old argument about cell phones and their effects on your health.
Yeah.
And there have been various studies in inverted commas that have proven that cell phones are bad for you. And
there haven't been. There's not been one.
Well, that claim.
Yeah.
You've had many studies that say they're not, and I think we're starting to err on the side to say that they're actually not as bad for us as people may have thought.
Do you know what's bad for us are Luddites who like to talk
and
about
NIMBYs.
how any technology is either going to encourage child pornography or is going to give us cancer. Yes. Any technology is going to do those
But
two
tomatoes
things.
have been said to cause cancer as
I
well.
know.
So.
I mean, they were banned.
My favorite quote was from somebody on the radio who said, and I think it was some guy from Sweden or Switzerland who had done
on the radio.
Always
You
some
listen
guy
to the
from
radio.
Sweden.
I do because I don't have a line in on my car
See,
yet.
it was some guy. It wasn't in a song that you heard on the
radio. No.
He was listening to the Justin Bieber tribute concert, right?
And he said that if cell phones did cause brain tumors, we would have seen by now we would have seen a remarked increase in the amount,
at least
of,
amongst 15-year-olds.
well, ex-15-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, we would have seen, by now we would have seen it already, you know, and we haven't. So therefore, what does that tell you? It tells you these people are idiots.
It
It's like
doesn't
the
tell
people
you
who won't.
anything really. If
It's
you,
the people.
I don't know.
Well,
I suppose it could be, it only manifests 100 years later. When
when
everyone's
you're dead.
And then if you dig up the corpse, and
the
then
maggots will have tumors on them. Okay.
Exactly. And then, in The Walking
If
Dead
anybody would like
times,
to see my dinner, it'll be on display shortly.
oh man.
But back to the point. I mean,
Anyway.
it'll be interesting to see you two jet setters there, if they actually let you. Well, you're always going out to Cape Town, and you're always
fair enough.
going everywhere.
Oh
so-
no, I never go. They don't even let me out the office nowadays.
Yeah, not safe in public, really.
No.
Yeah, they're a very restrictive environment, the Lollipop Lounge.
Yes.
I joke. Just to anyone who's listening, Ben Kelly does not actually work for the Lollipop Lounge. I just thought I'd clear that up.
So
Sorry, to blow
ruining
your
my
cover.
reputation here.
Probably saving it.
I think the Mail and Guardian changed its name after what happened last week. And, or was it this
We
week?
put
Was
up
it
a
last
sign
week? Yeah.
last week Friday.
Only on display
The
between
big
3 and 4 in the
M&G
morning
have
on
big
Tuesday nights.
black marks over them, and there's a Lollipop Lounge handwritten in pen stuck over
Yeah,
it.
on a piece
Anyway.
of brown cardboard.
So you're talking about black marks on newspapers and censorship. I'm sure that everyone's been following the SOPA story, and this is turning our eyes to our US brethren for a minute, because I do think that it influences all of us and it impacts all of us if they do pass this bill, or this if the act does come into play. I do think that people around the world are likely to follow suit, which is really terrifying. Have you guys been following the story?
Peripherally.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is that any legislation which holds, I think the key thing is that it holds service providers responsible for the content which goes across their networks.
Which means you have to shut down Facebook immediately, and then YouTube.
It's impossible to police.
Yeah.
Two, it takes away any businesses, any venture capital's reason for actually investing in internet companies. The whole internet was built on the premise that there was, that you could allow the free
porn for everyone.
Allow the free for the internet is for
Isn't
porn.
that what the internet's for anyway?
Yeah, that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But the point is that the porn probably paid for the internet. So now suddenly turning around and getting all nanny state on us is really.
Is it something that we feel that we should actually find threatening, or is it not just the last sort of dying kick of an outmoded way of thinking that just can't survive in the modern world, or is there a real threat to could someone censor the internet successfully? Even the US government, could they?
I think
you saw China try and censor the internet, and people within China just bounce their traffic off of a proxy server.
Well, they
and
just
boom,
make
they
it
have
damn
access to everything
inconvenient,
you can,
Yeah.
So where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And the internet will always find a way. Always.
And what's the act actually called?
It's called the
Stop Online
Internet
Piracy.
Online
Piracy
Yeah.
Act.
Okay, the point is that if your objective is to stop online piracy, the internet 20 years ago you could have done this.
Yeah.
Okay, because the internet was so concentrated in the US, that everything flowed through the US. Today, largely, you would have to pass this act in multiple countries in order for it to actually come into effect.
Sorry, our camera crew is finding something hilarious right now, and I hope it's not something that I said. Anyway, sorry.
So there's just no point, BitTorrent. How are you going to shut down BitTorrent? You don't know where the people are. You don't know who they are. You don't know what's.
Well, the
thing is that they do actually.
Yeah.
If you look at these irritating little takedown notice issuers like Bay TSP, for example, they do know who you are. They may not be using the most legal tactics to find out who you are, but I have many friends who have been ordered with these takedown notices from Bay TSP. Well, Bay TSP would send a takedown notice to their ISP, and their ISP will in turn forward that and say, you are using our networks for nefarious means and stop doing it now, wrap over the knuckles. The thing is jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And I read a very interesting article about why these takedown notices have absolutely no ground in South Africa, and why people who receive them.
There isn't provision in the ECTA. It's complicated. Sorry, the ECTA is the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act, which really governs pretty much everything to do with this sort of thing in online in South Africa. And it is complicated because there is sort of a, ISPs are sort of protected by the law, because it would just become, a ridiculously unsustainable idea to start an ISP or to run an ISP if you had to honor every takedown notice. You were held responsible for, monetary loss of anything that was listed on anything. But you certainly do have to comply with takedown notices if they go through the proper channel.
Certainly. And in many ISP cases, it's we got a takedown notice from Bay TSB, for example. We forward that to you. You have to tell us that you have ceased and desisted what you have done, and you've deleted what you have downloaded off the internet. Yes, Mr. ISP, I have definitely deleted everything off of my computer.
Don't you feel like it would be the most boring job in the world, being like an internet cop? It's like Mall Cop, the sequel. Like going around with your gun, and you're like, I will send you an email asking you to take something down.
And if you don't do it, I will send you a strongly worded email telling you to take it down.
It's like
strongly.
being a bored housewife in Constantia writing to the Star. Well, it shouldn't be Constantia writing. Sorry,
to the Argus,
whatever. All the same.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, jurisdiction. That's what I want to know. It's the technologies that these companies use, for example, are illegal in a lot of countries anyway. I mean, companies like Bay TSP, for example, although they won't admit to it, use wiretapping.
Yeah.
If you run like a port blocker or on your computer, for example, you can see companies, a whole lot of these companies that issue these takedown notices, pinging your ports all the time, and they'll deny it, but it's there.
Yeah.
I mean,
have you guys? I mean, neither of you have obviously ever pirated anything in your lives, but I mean, you've never gotten.
Well, I've never got a takedown notice.
Yeah.
I've seen many people who have gotten takedown notices, but I mean, there's. Nothing's happened.
I've heard that, as long as you avoid Warner Brothers and, some of the big, really blockbuster movies, then you're generally fine, right?
I've seen people get from Viacom networks, from MTV, from Comedy Central. But like I said, it's jurisdiction, and the problem is all you need is one case to actually be pursued in South Africa and set a precedent.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got legal rights to go after. The question is, does a Warner Brothers want to go after little Pit Pompies in Pofadder who is downloading 3 episodes of True Blood?
Except if there's like 100 million Pit Pompies, then
Well, that is the problem.
The 100 million Pit Pompies are in the US, not in South Africa.
Yeah. Well, yet.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to take another quick little break and talk about our other sponsor that we also love very much, BlackBerry. And their big news of the week is the announcement of the Torch 9810. Now, even if you're not a BlackBerry person, I think you've got to look at this thing and think it's pretty damn sexy. So, really great hardware, very high performance, and featuring the new OS 7, for BlackBerry. So, and it's got the sort of touch slide out keyboard thing, so it doesn't matter what you prefer, it's got both, and it just looks like a really, really lovely device, actually. And we know that BlackBerry in South Africa unrivaled in terms of what people want, and it is going to be available from both MTN and Vodacom. So cool news for BlackBerry fans. Indeed.
It's interesting that that form factor. I'm surprised that phone companies are still coming out with sort of dual touch and keyboard form factor. I've heard a lot of hate for that form factor.
Really?
Yeah, and it's people are either pro keyboard or pro touchscreen, but it'd be interesting to see what the take up of a device like this, which I have to say looks very good.
Yeah, it's really, really
it's
good
nice
looking.
and powerful.
Yeah.
The BlackBerry app world is definitely starting to bring the A game when it comes to the apps that are available.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I must say, I've had my touchscreen only phone for, about 6 months now. And there are definitely moments when I really miss a good old QWERTY, specifically when you're typing out this really angry email. It's 3 a.m, you're drunk and you're emailing your ex. Sorry, this never
And you've got
happened.
5 autocorrects.
You wouldn't do that,
No,
Sam.
I really think that they should start building breathalyzers into phones, and you should not be able to dial if you are too drunk.
Wait, Google
How
had,
do you
Google
call?
had a
How do you call the
technology-
cab then?
Yeah.
Google had a
Oh,
service
good point.
that
Sure, there's an app for that.
that you could enable, and it would it would not allow you to send emails between certain times of the night,
wasn't it that
knowing
it
that they would
asked
be
you-
dop and dial.
Didn't it ask you a math question if you could
like that,
answer the
yeah.
math question? I don't know.
remember that.
I
That was
get
very
better at
interesting.
some things when I'm drunk. I'm a much better pool player, and I might well be better at maths.
Well, everybody gets better at pool. I mean, they
Yeah.
call this aiming juice, I get better at Battlefield 3
Do
after a
they?
couple
Where
of
do,
drinks.
where do they call it aiming juice, Nick,
Yeah,
in Boxburg?
Well, actually, when I used to play paintball, we used to call it aiming juice. But
Waistband.
I can
Hardcore.
definitely vouch for aiming juice as improving your Battlefield skills.
As long as that's what we're talking about. So, talking about aiming juice, Modern Warfare 3. I know that this was something that you wanted to talk about, Nick. Although I don't know why we're talking about Modern Warfare 3 when there's Skyrim to be playing. I mean, no one cares about anything
Fart
else, surely.
noise.
I just don't have the time. I'm still trying to get through Grand Theft Auto 4.
Dude, what are you doing at 3 o'clock in the morning? Come now.
I
You're
know,
slacking,
you're wasting
Ben.
your life, Ben.
Yeah, I know.
Wasting your life.
I just thought it was very interesting with Modern Warfare 3. I mean, it's shooter season, as I've mentioned before, is in full swing, and Battlefield 3 has been out there and making huge waves, and people are loving it to bits and pieces, including myself. And then the next big one that people waited for was Modern Warfare 3, which obviously came out 2 weeks ago, and it got great critic reviews. I mean, it's on Metacritic. It's sort of sitting at around about 83%, which is
Pretty
very good.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was if you look at the user reviews, I don't think it's gone above 2 out of 100. And
Wow.
where I picked this up was a couple of the gaming websites have been running stories about one of the developers of the game who actually sent out a tweet saying, please help us get the Metacritic score up, because at that stage it was 1.7 out of 100.
Wow.
That's 1.7% out of 100. People, the biggest...
3.2.
Well, there
Have
we go.
either of you
It's-
tried
it's
it?
3.2 out of 10.
Is it
Wow.
out of 10?
Users are out of
sorry,
10.
my bad. Out of 10.
Still.
So
It's
3.2.
not often that you get such a big disparity between the critics and
And the big
users.
complaints. If you read the complaints, there, the people are saying they did nothing to improve. On the graphics engine, for example, they've done nothing to improve the gameplay. They've done nothing to improve the single-player campaign, which is a big component nowadays. Yeah, even though
Sometimes
people
there
buy
are
these
those
games.
Friday nights where you're all alone.
Yeah,
on
I
the
know,
couch,
in your
and
in
it
your
happens.
parents' basement, and
Happens to all of us. It's
so-
okay.
But those are the big complaints, and
Yeah.
people users are just saying they've put absolutely no effort into this title whatsoever. I have yet to play it because I'm still well into Battlefield 3.
We've
which
got to
is
wait until at
flippin'
least
amazing.
mid-December. So
Well, totally.
if
when
we
the price comes
skip a
down
couple of
as
days
well,
of
it's
work.
$100 more than Battlefield 3 at the shops. So
100 rand.
100 ZA rands,
Rant. Oh, good grief.
which
We
for
should
our
write
far-
a strongly worded letter to the star.
and tell them how angry we are.
If you want to save money on games, you buy a PC.
Yeah.
You pay for
True
the hardware,
story.
but you save on the games.
True story.
And for our foreign listeners, 100 rand is what today's exchange rate is probably about 2 US cents.
Yeah.
It's like
Wait, I'll tell you how much
it's like
it is.
$10.
No, not quite.
No, it's probably about $12.
Yeah.
So 12.
Yeah.
Okay, so
12
call
or
me a liar for
$13.
Google
$2.
says it's $11.9.
Well, there we go, $12. So
None of us can do
it's-
math. We're not drunk enough, clearly.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
More aiming juice. But
Yeah.
so interesting story there. But I mean, Ben's looking at the Modern Warfare 3 Metacritic scores now. If you just go look for Battlefield 3, and take a look at the scores over there, I think it's DICE and EA put a lot of effort into remastering the engine and changing the gameplay and giving people a whole lot more. I know I'm passionate about Battlefield 3.
No, never.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going.
I only get to play it two hours a week. So
I went to the
Well, there we
PC,
go. You see,
PC
so
version.
Battlefield 3,
84 and
84
7.5.
and 7.5.
So much better.
There we go.
Wow, interesting.
So,
Yeah,
and I think people are going to vote. They're going to vote with their dollars.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's about that time, everybody. About the time when Ben gets naked and will put money in his bra. No, about the time when
Do you
we
have
go
change for
to. So mean, Ben. You know we're very fond of you, right? About that time when we go to Picks of the Week. I think we should have.
Jingle.
We need a jingle. I was just thinking. I think you should make one up.
It's the Picks of the Week.
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not so much. Okay, but good try.
Thanks.
And for that, I think we can start with you, Nick.
Right.
What is your pick of the week?
So, anybody who owns an iPad will be frustrated that there's no sort of official Wikipedia app for the iPad as there is for the iPhone and for Android, surprisingly. But I actually stumbled upon this app when I was going through the sort of free apps in the App Store to see what I could get because I'm cheap like that. And I stumbled upon Wikipanion. And it's basically very similar to the apps that the official apps that have been written for Wikipedia on the iPhone and Android, for example. It's a mask that goes over the website, but it just makes it. What I love about it, it makes it touch friendly because you can access the website from the iPad, for example, and you can put a nice little Wikipedia icon on the home page by
not the
saving.
same, yeah.
It's not the same. It's not very touch
I don't know,
friendly.
Wikipanion kind of sounds like a robotic pet. You know, like Wikipedia is going to be your companion that's going to come with you and pet you.
You can think that.
Okay. Sorry,
everybody's
just me.
entitled to their
Just
own
me.
opinions.
Okay,
This is
no,
a
that's fine.
free country after all, and that's not a state secret. So I'm sure you're fully entitled to say it on the air.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I just found Wikipanion nice and easy to use, very touch friendly. It's very nicely laid out. The user experience has definitely been thought out.
Cool.
Yeah.
iOS only, or is there a
I have just only found an iOS version. yeah,
cool?
so-
We should have a look. So on
and
the,
it's free.
on the topic of Wikipedia, I want everyone who's listening to try something right now. Go to Wikipedia and type in scopophobia. It's hilarious. So I mean, we know that Jimmy Wales. Wait, I'll wait for you to find it.
Well, my autocorrect made it scoop phobia.
No. SCOPO phobia.
Totally.
Right now, the funny thing about Wikipedia at the moment is that they've got the really creepy looking Jimmy Wales staring at you,
Asking for money.
asking for money. What a dork! Yeah, Ben just found it. It's if you're listening, you've got to try it. It's hilarious. Scopophobia means it's this terrible anxiety disorder characterized by the fear of being stared at by people, and of course, Jimmy Wales right now staring at you above the word scopophobia.
Who is
Sorry.
that chick in the photo? That's what I want to know.
I don't know, but she's also pretty creepy. But although a lot of the photos of Jimmy Wales look like he's naked.
She's the woman with dreadlocks.jpg.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. Wow. Okay.
More aiming juice.
All right. So, Ben, your picks of the week.
I've got two.
Oh, I don't know. I think we're going to have to start
The first
budgeting these.
one's a quick one.
Clock's running out.
Yeah,
No, you got 10
the
minutes.
first one's a quick one. I haven't really played with it. It's called Oink. I don't know if somebody picked Oink. It's like Foursquare for things. Say
that again.
It's like Foursquare for things.
Okay.
Okay, so instead of checking in at Lee's Chinese restaurant,
You check in at your toilet.
no, you check in at you basically pick like the chicken chow mein at Lee's Chinese restaurant.
Hey,
So
interesting.
instead of checking in at a place, you're actually saying this one item on the menu is awesome.
Okay. So I suppose as well, if you were going into like macro, you could say, I want to pick the Galaxy tab
Yes.
at macro.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I mean, I all these social networks, I kind of think that's really lame. But I just find it interesting because one of the big failures of Foursquare is that you can
'Cause
check
it
in at
spams you.
you can check in at a place, but it's just like, so what? It often doesn't tell you whether the person actually liked it going there. Like I went to Bukhara and Nelson Mandela Square,
Yeah.
and the food was terrible.
I mean, you
but I
can
still
leave-
checked in there.
You can leave tips and
Yes, you
and-
can leave tips, but not very
yeah.
many people do in South Africa anyway.
The thing is, as well, Foursquare's become out of control. I mean, I see people checking into the William Nicol interchange and people checking into like this road and that.
tell
Somebody
you-
just became the mayor of the N1.
You add badges to things, and people will do some crazy.
I mean, I don't know about
stuff.
you, but aren't you a bit check-in fatigued?
No.
I just do it for fun.
No, because I win.
I have no like real emotional attachment to it. I go somewhere and I go, oh yeah, I'm here. Let me check in, and that's it.
But I see you've done 2 of the tips that I've left at 2 restaurants.
That's pretty good. Yeah. You see, the thing is, Ben, you're just a loser. Yeah. So I win on Foursquare. I win, and I'm not competitive at all. So I make sure that I'm always winning on Foursquare. So,
what's it called? Oink.
It's a slight
Oink.
problem.
Yeah.
Do you know what's quite funny about that name?
That's a Kevin Rose baby, so as well. So.
Yeah. Isn't there an oatmeal? I'm trying to look for it now. An oatmeal cartoon. And if you are a geek and you don't know about the oatmeal, go and Google it immediately. There's a cartoon that says websites you all need to stop building. And there's one that's called Porkit, like a made-up thing. Anyway, it was pretty funny.
Sorry, there was a snort.
Should have been an oink.
Okay.
Do you have another pick?
Yes. Even more important than that is my contribution to the ZA Tech Show book club. This ran by me. This read
Sole member
entirely on
it's like Oprah's book
purchased on the Kindle store and read on an iPad, so it falls under the category of allowable on the ZA Tech Show.
Okay.
Is the new Neil Stephenson book called Reamed. My slightly
cool.
dyslexic part of my brain keeps wanting to read it as what it is a misspelling of README.
Okay.
So whenever I see it, I see README, and I want to say README, but it's actually Reamed.
And
REAMDE.
there's the subconscious thing where you just want to read it.
Yeah,
weird.
And it is not like Anathem, which I struggled through. It's not like The Confusion, which I still haven't got through. This is much more sort of Cryptonomicon kind of book, where it's sort of set now. It's a fast-paced adventure, great characters, really good story, lots of crazy people doing crazy shit. You've got Russian mobsters, you've got
it sounds like the average weekend in Nick Calligari's life.
Yeah. You've got,
which Nick Calligari are you talking about?
It jumps from like Canada to China and back. It is really well written. It's easy to read. I mean, I'm reading China Meeville book at the moment, Perdita Street Station.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which takes like about a quarter to a third of the book to actually get into the story.
Yeah.
But the point is that I mean, Reamed is really it's not difficult to read. It's not a tough read, and I can thoroughly recommend it to anybody who's a Neil Stephenson fan. If you enjoyed Cryptonomicon, you will love this. And Cryptonomicon is my favorite Neil Stephenson book, mostly because he wrote a really brilliant article for Wired while he was doing the research for that book. And if you ever have a few hours to spare, because it is quite a long article, go look up Mother Earth Motherboard on the Wired website and read that. I'd advise going to the printed out version of the article and saving it into a Word document, because it goes on for I think it was about 50 pages.
Wow.
When in that article, in that version of Wired, which I unfortunately no longer have, but it is a most fantastic book article as well. So I love Neil Stephenson. Reamed, go get it. Yeah, you'll love it.
Thank you for giving us all some culture, Ben.
Yes. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
I feel doof.
Yeah, no, me too. Okay, so my pick of the week, I've got 2 because, I'm hosting, so I can do that. Someone try and stop me. My first pick is this really awesome little indie game called To the Moon that I stumbled across sort of a couple of weeks ago. Terrible graphics. It sort of looks like the first Zelda. It's so 8-bit terrible graphics.
Worse than Minecraft.
Yeah, like
Holy cow,
definitely worse than
possible.
Minecraft. Wow. Yeah, it doesn't even have the fake 3D thing. But the storyline is just wonderful, and it definitely feels like it was written by a writer, which we need to see more of. If real writers are starting to write for TVs and movies, they surely need to be writing for games.
Machinarium was the last truly sort of beautiful indie game
story,
to come out,
so I mean, this one, it's a very unusual game. It's a little bit Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. You are a doctor, and in some sort of undefined future where people can travel through other people's memories, and you meet this dying man, and he never fulfilled his life's dream, which was going to the moon, and you're trying to manipulate his memories in very subtle ways so that he kind of achieves this goal. But you're also discovering kind of his whole life history and how everything fits in. So very engrossing. It only takes about about 5 hours to play, and it costs sort of 80 rand.
4.5 hours according to them.
Oh, excuse me.
According
I
to the
was
website,
slow.
it says.
I was exploring. I tend to explore things. I'm a very bad gamer.
Play through time, 4.5 hours, PC.
First hour of gameplay is free, so give it a try if you've got a couple of hours to kill one Sunday. It's just very beautiful and engrossing. So that's To the Moon. And my other pick of the week, quite a quick one. It's my favorite blog thing of the moment, and it's called The Mary Sue. Have either of you heard about it? Now, if you are a geek and you are a girl, and yes, we do exist, damn it, then the Mary Sue is pretty much the best thing on the internet since lolcats. It is hilariously funny.
Well, you set the bar pretty low there, Sam.
Come on, nothing better on the internet than lolcats. So what it is, it's just sort of, geeky, slightly girly things, and the kind of intersection between geek and girl. The perfect example for me is that on the weekend, they had this post that had pin-up photos of all the male characters from Firefly. Oh, be still my beating heart. So if you're a girl and you're a geek and you kind of want to indulge in the intersection of those two characteristics, then the Mary Sue is going to waste several
and if
days
there
of
are any
your
girl
life.
geeks listening to the show and they don't know what Firefly is,
Yeah, then
You are not a geek.
You're not a girl geek.
you need a serious education, and I think we need to set a session up.
Absolutely.
Nick, you're married.
I didn't. Okay, shut up.
And all the girls in the audience suddenly just started crying. Why did you have to tell them?
sorry.
They were living in hope.
It's okay. Nick's wife doesnn't listen to the show.
No, she does. And in fact, I said tonight that I would make special mention that she got herself an iPad from FNB, because she is so anti-tech. It's not even funny. I can't even get her to agree to me buying her an iPod.
Opposites attract.
Totally.
Yeah.
So there we go, love. You got your mention. You got your iPad. Well done. I love you.
Oh, so romantic. I'm going to
Don't
throw
cut that
up
out,
in my
Simon.
glass. Okay. And on that note, I think we need to wrap up tonight's session, and we'll be on time. Hooray. I think we get extra points for that. I think it should be like Foursquare, where we get points for every ZA Tech show.
Or it's like whose line is it anyway, and the points don't matter.
Yeah.
The points are like
100
Pamela
million
Anderson's
points for you.
IQ. Doesn't matter.
I think the QI is the more appropriate reference
QI,
nowadays.
No,
Okay,
we like to think we're that smart and interesting, but none of us are Stephen Fry. I wish.
I'm more like Alan, whatever his name is, who gets the funny
Alan
buzzers.
Davies.
Quack, quack, quack. Tell her number 4, please.
my favorite episodes of those are the ones with David Mitchell. He's definitely my favorite British comedian.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious. Anyway, before this becomes the ZA culture and TV show,
God forbid.
yeah, heaven forbid. Thank you for joining me tonight, both of you. Nick,
Thanks, Sam.
that's N Calligari.
Yes,
N
at N Calligari on Twitter.
Or you can find him hanging around at DSTV Online, where they do things like create giant Pac-Men out of Post-its on their windows.
Yeah, there's a bit of a Pac-Man or a post-it war going on at the moment.
It's a very cool,
If you drive
very
around
geeky
our building, you can
one.
actually see like angry birds and stuff. Well,
They're
very
quite
cute.
elaborate. Yeah,
Yeah,
you should
totally.
tweet some of those photos. They're
You
very
think
good.
we actually work for a living?
Yeah, you'd think.
That's all you're doing all day. I can work there as well.
Well, I do. I work for a living.
And a hard-working girl at night, Mr. Ben Kelly. I'm sorry, I'll stop. It's so mean. I say it with the
This is the most fun I've had all week.
greatest affection. Benedict, what is it? Is Ben Kelly?
Benedict
Kelly on at Benedict Kelly.
Yeah,
Kelly
at Benedict
Twitter.
Kelly on
Yeah.
Twitter, which is the only place you'll really find me doing anything online at the moment, because the lollipop lounge keeps me really busy all the time.
Such slave drivers
Yes, they are.
and human traffickers there at the Lollipop Lounge.
Yes.
And so thank you, both of you. It's been real. And I am your host, Sam Beckbessinger, at greenham_Sam on Twitter. The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za, and by BlackBerry. Love doing business on your BlackBerry smartphone at blackberry.co.za. Good night.